Good morning, everybody. Yesterday, Jagex revealed their summer summit for updates coming out through the end of spring 2025. And the reason it's so early of next year is because they're also going to be doing another reveal at the physical Rune Fest, which I will be attending, which is going to be very, very exciting. So in this ramble, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I just want to share my overall opinions on the summer summit. Also, there are some things that they revealed that are going to go beyond spring of 2025, which are down here. That's why it says and beyond right here. So I was trying to record a ramble just like 20 minutes ago, and I realized God damn, like this is actually going to be the beefiest ramble of all time if I go into every single one of these things and talk about the cool things coming from all of this. So in this ramble specifically, I will just share my general thoughts, my feelings toward the summer summit, how I felt it went. And then over the next week or so, I'm going to be going in depth with the new Varlamore stuff and just sharing my updated opinions on things. One of the things I wanted to say before we just jump into this immediately is that my thoughts and opinions on this game progress as time progresses. I mean, it's just, or, maybe digress in some of your guys' opinions. But what bothers me a little bit is when I get somebody coming into my stream that's like, hey, I don't like the way you feel about this thing that you talked about on a ramble 3 years ago. I'm like, bruh, people will still bring up things that I honestly thought like 2.5 years ago. And it's just like my thought process is not there anymore. I mean, I play this game more. I read the community's thoughts. I realize, okay, maybe this isn't as healthy for the game or, this and this. Anyway, so my thoughts and opinions are always being updated. And I want to make that kind of clear going forward with the next videos coming out this next week. We're going into depth about these things. One thing in particular was like the herb lore minigame, for example. I've been playing a hardcore group for the past 6 weeks, and it's definitely opened my perspective on the game and early game and mid game and stuff, and it just gives me a better view of how amazing the updates have been lately and what really is important for the game's health and stuff. Just knowing that vast majority of players really are in the early and mid game, and catering toward the 0.1% of high, super high level fully progressed accounts is probably not the healthiest way to go down. Or the healthiest way to design updates. So anyway, when I was recording the last ramble and I kind of just stopped it because I realized this is going to go on for 4 hours. One of the things was the herb lore minigame. And late last year, I was talking about the herb lore minigame and people had differing opinions. We're going to go into depth on that obviously in the next video, but I had a problem back then thinking about how destructive an herb lore minigame could be to the previous meta of, you need herbs, you need secondaries, that's how you get your herb lore XP. And that's kind of iconic and nostalgic to the old school Iron Man feel of herb lore being a very hard-earned, kind of respected skill that takes a lot of dedication on your farm runs and dedication on obtaining secondaries and all this stuff. And, to throw that all away and just give a, Winter Todd version of herb lore where, I just hit my 50 herb lore or whatever. Let me go to herb lore Todd and get to 99 within a week. That would just be very destructive in my personal opinion. Now, I still hold on to most of my thoughts regarding the herb lore minigame, but I've definitely been more opened up and more aware of, okay, an herb lore minigame truly could be very beneficial to this game. And honestly, I trust the JMods to balance it. It sounds like they're going to go down the Mahogany Homesization / Giants Foundryization of just giving it so your herbs give more XP per the herb, but you're getting slower XP per hour than just standing at a bank and making the potions on repeat. So anyway, for the most part, I'm really excited about it, and I just wanted to make that disclaimer right off the bat that my thoughts and feelings about this game are always changing. They're ever changing. I'm not going to be dogmatic towards certain views I had in the past. Most views, to be fair, I still do hold onto, but yeah, when people cherry pick the worst views I had from 3 years ago, it's just not the case anymore, which means, a lot of the time I'll need to get people asking about how I feel about certain things, and then I can like re-update you guys on how I feel about it. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get into what I think about the OSRS roadmap going forward up until late spring 2025. So we got Varlamore, the Rising Darkness, which is part 2 Varlamore. Super fucking excited. Varlamore gets me so hyped about this game. Like, it really does. Varlamore's amazing. They've really nailed it. Playing a brand new account is really, it just shows me how amazing Varlamore really is. And it caters really to all player types, which is just great. Ready for some Varlamore? Later this month, you'll be able to explore a new area of the region and take on a new group boss, herblore activity, agility course, and more. By the way, and we're going to go into depth on these. Again, I can't do it on this video because it's going to be 4 hours. But the new Graceful looks fucking sick. And obviously the new herblore stuff and the outfit from there looks incredible. They are just nailing it on the art side of things. So honestly, I'm just going to say right off the bat, the things I'm looking forward to most from this Summer Summit are Varlamore. Varlamore Part 2, Part 3 at the end. Though that is the thing I'm most looking forward to. I'd say the second thing is probably the game jam, which we'll get into. But first, let's cover Curse of Arav, or Arav, or however you pronounce it. The next part of our Majorat storyline makes you delve deep into Zemuragal's fortress stronghold, learning more about the mysterious Majorat and his history with Arav. And apparently this is just the OSRS twist, and it's nothing crazy is happening with this quest, but it's allowing different branches to spring from this quest and give some more Grandmaster quests or something like that, which I'm not a lore guy. I respect people that are lore guys. I think Mod Ed, for example, is the fucking Giga Chad of the OSRS dev team. But I'm excited about it. Rathmaw Worm Boss. So this is something that he talked about on the Summer Summit, obviously. And it's basically here, let's read it right here. Old School's first ever Wilderness World Boss. So they call it a World Boss. Rathmaw is an exceptionally tanky boss with simple mechanics who spawns at 3 fixed times per day across 5 dedicated worlds. So it's something where, 3 different times a day, probably within I'm imagining a 12-hour segment, like one at 6, one at noon, and one at 6 p.m. Like 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m. I don't know, whatever fucking time zone it is. That's what I'd imagine. It probably goes into more depth, which we'll get into eventually when I make a dedicated video on it. Honestly, it doesn't affect me that much, mainly because I've never been that kind of wilderness player. It's cool because it's going to be dropping ether, which is awesome. It just like drops those teeth, I believe it is. And the teeth can give you supplies. They're coming out with noted blighted brews or just blighted brews, I guess, which is pretty insane. I don't fully understand the philosophy behind like, oh, you should never lose money ever in the wilderness unless you die. I don't know. They're just like making up stuff at this point. But again, I'm not trying to like downplay. I feel like for a lot of people, this sounds like an amazing update for people that enjoy the wilderness, which is cool. It's going to be very interesting seeing the gatekeeping. I mean, just the locking down of worlds and stuff that could potentially happen. And depending on how much money you can generate from this boss, it's going to be a little bit interesting. We'll see how it kind of goes. But one of the cool things is like they did mention the idea that like having a world boss like this where it's spawning, it's going to create a massive hotspot where it kind of clears out the rest of the world in the wilderness so that you can do activities safely for a little bit. Maybe. Who knows? Also, they were talking about something around bots, like having bots not be able to participate in this or something like that. I really don't understand, but we'll figure it out. We'll go into a little bit more depth in a separate video, but not particularly looking forward to this, but I still think it's a really cool idea, mainly because the community and myself have actually talked about, I mean, I remember years ago, I was talking about this fucking sandworm, like the movie Tremors, you guys know, with Kevin Bacon. And can you imagine, like, in the desert, a fucking world boss spawn, like, this fucking sandworm is digging and it just spawns randomly and you kill it and it's just massable. That is exactly kind of what Rathmaw looks like, but except it's in the wilderness. So a lot of people aren't going to be able to enjoy it because a lot of people don't like going into the wilderness. But it's still a fascinating idea, so we'll see. and we'll go into a little bit more depth in videos to come. So drop a subscription if you guys are interested. Also drop a like on the video if you're enjoying this so far. All right, Leagues 5. Leagues 5 seems pretty cool. As most of you know, I am not the stereotypical Leagues player. For some reason, I can't get into it. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was talking about it with my stream because people are like, oh, you're playing a hardcore group. Like, feels sort of temporary. Or have you changed your mind about Leagues and you're now going to start playing Leagues again? Although, yes, the hardcore-ness of our group, like the hardcore nature of it all, means that this account technically is temporary. But there is no fixed deadline of like, get it all done before this time, and then your account's permanently deleted. Like, we could still continue as a group. I think I finally figured it out, though. I think the main reason I don't like Leagues as much, or I can't get myself into it, I like the concept of Leagues. I love that people love it. I'm not against it at all. I just don't think it's built for me. It feels like ADHD man mode. It feels like you spawn in and you just have tasks to do every 5 seconds. Like, do this for 5 seconds, do this for 5 seconds, do this for 5 seconds. It's just, everything is so fucking short term. It's just do this. It's just a huge list of chores that takes 5 seconds to do. Just repeat it. And it's just way too much for my brain to handle. I just don't enjoy that kind of play style, but I know a lot of people love that. So anyway, Leagues 5, I am looking forward to. Let's see what they say about it. It's official. A new iteration of Leagues is on the horizon, bringing with it new mechanics, a twist on some familiar enemies, and of course, shiny new rewards. So one of the coolest parts about it while watching the Summer Summit was when Mod Arcane was talking about there's a lot of cool things. One of the things is people felt kind of gate kept behind mega rares and raids rewards. So they choose specific areas that are going to pimp out their, perfect setup. The cool thing is now they're allowing all mega rares to be given from either of the 3 raids. So you can choose just one area that has a raid in it and be able to get if you chose Mauritania, for example, you could pull a twisted bow. That's, I think, really cool. Also, they're giving out just brand new weapons that we have never, ever seen before that are going to be fucking overpowered. And they can drop from anything, apparently. So that's pretty exciting. So it's cool that they're just doing that and they can just kind of fuck around with the game and just make it super, super, super hype and crazy. And I'm excited to watch it. I've always enjoyed watching Leagues. I especially like watching Leagues YouTubers that just go crazy sweat mode. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Game Jam update. I've obviously made plenty of rambles on this, but we'll take another deep dive later this week talking about it. From the creative minds of a team, we're excited to share some of the pitches you can expect to see sooner rather than later from our latest jam. This includes collection log improvements, mini menus, bank deposit improvements, and more POH customization. It's all amazing stuff, honestly. I'm very much looking forward to it. And we'll go more into depth when that video comes out. So cool. And that'll just be early next year, it's so crazy how fast these things are coming. Like Leagues 5 is coming out late November this year. That's wild. All right, Giant Bosses. So Giant Bosses was the second to last thing on here. And it's basically, we're looking to release those highly requested Fire and Ice counterparts to Obor and Bryophyta. And while we're at it, take a look at how the key system currently works for those 2 bosses. So we're going to go into deeper depth when I make the video on it. But basically, it's a Fire and Ice boss that's going to require you to gear swap. Who knows, actually? I was in No Monkey stream last night. Who knows how that's going to work, the gear swapping? Because, I'm assuming you're supposed to be a low level fighting this. You got your leather chaps and your blue wizard robe. Is that what you're switching between? Things that are 2 defense and 3 defense, total stats? I don't feel like that's fully necessary. I feel like what's going to be happening is, the switching from Water Blast to Fire Blast or something like that, which sounds kind of annoying. But we'll see kind of how they play it off. There's going to be no keys, so that's really cool. I feel like most people don't like the key system. I feel like in theory it's kind of interesting, but actually in practice it's just really obnoxious. So really cool. I'm excited about it. We'll dive deeper later. And Varlamore, the Final Dawn, our next big expansion, the finale to everything we've done with Varlamore so far. Loose ends will be tied. The mainland will be complete, but make no mistake, we aren't completely done with Varlamore. So this is late spring 2025. honestly. So this is where they're going to be coming out with the Enrage boss. That's it. What did they call it? Tladi Rainforest. First Enrage boss. Yeah, I'm really, really excited about the Enrage boss. I know that is basically the thing that came out from Summer Summit, where the end game players are probably looking forward to that most. A lot of end game players like only look for that kind of stuff in these summits and get really disappointed if there's not like just everything catered toward them. Which, don't get me wrong, I mean, I remember kind of like I know what it's like to feel that way. Like you just want the end game stuff because that's the mode you're playing, and Anyway, but really excited about the Enrage boss. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what they do with it. They are planning on just making it single player, which makes total sense. It's way easier to balance. New fletching activity is going to be interesting. We'll dive deeper into that. New Slayer dungeon. I always love when they make dungeons. I especially love it when Jagex makes dungeons where there's some sort of like key system or some sort of additional loot. Like the catacombs, a lot of things wrong with the catacombs, but ultimately they nailed it with like this Scotizo boss in the middle, and everything in the dungeon drops these totem pieces and ancient shards. I love that. I love Konar Slayer, where you're getting brimstone keys. You get to open the brimstone chest. I love that kind of shit. So I really hope that this dungeon has some sort of like cool little, just little extra loot or chests that you can loot or something like that. I love that kind of stuff. And more new quests. Cool. Okay, so the last things we're going to talk about is Sailing, HD, and API, and Project Zanaris. So, Sailing. Just recently, I think on King Condor Cast, I talked about it specifically because we saw an update on the navigation of Sailing. I'll go very not in depth about how I feel about Sailing currently. One of the things I'm just worried about, I'm not a Sailing doomer by any means. I've tried to remain pretty damn optimistic about it. I am still looking forward to the perfect, in my mind, like in theory, how cool Sailing could really be. But when I see the navigation, it, for some reason, and this is just being fully transparent, it makes me depressed. It makes me a little bit depressed thinking about how potentially, and again, we have not messed around with this. We don't know what other changes they're going to be making, but something about the slowness and clunkiness of the boats just gives me this vibe that this isn't going to be fun long term. Like, it's going to be cool on release. You jump on your boat for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're getting a headache from like just being on there, and your boat feels weird and clunky, and it's going slow, and you have to keep fixing your sail and your sails and stuff, and you got to. I don't know. That just worries me. It worries me a little bit. We're going to see what comes in the future. But ultimately, I'm still excited for what Sailing offers. I just want the base foundation of the skill to just feel fun. Like, it's got to be fun on every level. And if it's tedious in any regard, it's just, that is not good. So anyway, the navigation worries me a little bit at the moment. Fully transparent, fully honest. I have to like basically say this on repeat. I'm not a doomer. I'm not trying to cancel Sailing. I just need to be fully honest with you guys and myself about like the way I feel about Sailing right now. If they had come out with something that looked amazing, I would be shouting praises right now from the rooftops. But like I'm not impressed at the moment. But we're gonna see. Again, most of the things in my head that like Sailing offers that sounds exciting has nothing to do with actually like being on the boat. It has to do with like new monsters in the sea and new underwater raids or new like air islands to explore and stuff. That really doesn't have much to do with the boat, which is not a great sign. But again, we'll see what they come out with. We got, probably, I can't even imagine Sailing dropping in 2025. So maybe late 2026 at the earliest is in my head what we're going to be seeing if the skill actually drops. Obviously, we're going to get betas before then. But yeah, I figured I would just, mention something on that. HD looks fucking unreal. They also teased the new water. So water doesn't just look like blue tile carpet on repeat, but it looks really nice and clean. And there's shadows and just everything looks really nice. So HD is going to be fucking sick. New weather settings as well, or unique weather settings, and community plugins. And also, I don't even think they talked about mobile in here specifically, but mobile's getting like menu entry swapper and HD, obviously, and just a whole brand new redesign, which looks so clean. I'm so excited about it. The one thing mobile really needs, though, let me know how you guys feel about this, is like one of the things that sucks is trying to play on mobile, and like let's just say you're like blowing glass or chopping a tree or something, and you just switch apps on your iPhone or something, and you go back and you've only been gone for 30 seconds, but your dude's logged out again. It's just, that is so annoying. I really wish there was at least a 5-minute timer, at least. I mean, obviously it'd be amazing if it was like 10-minute or something, so you could like AFK sand crabs or something on basic mobile and leave the app and still be there after 10 minutes. Who knows what the downsides of that potentially are and why they've decided not to go down that route, but it's just frustrating having to constantly go back to the app so you're not logged out I feel like it's under a minute, honestly. And if you lock your iPhone, I'm pretty sure you're like insta logged out, which is just bizarre. Anyway, yeah, we'll see about that. I'm excited about it. And Project Zanaris, the final thing that I'll be mentioning right here is, let's read this. This project brings community servers, which will take the old school RuneScape you know and love and let you tweak different elements to create a brand new gameplay experience, and more will soon be available. So there will be a beta next year talking about this. And okay, so fully honest, fully transparent, this Project Zanaris scares me. It just scares me. I feel like it's really different from what we've ever experienced with old school, and I feel like that's the fear that's generated in my mind about it. I've talked about this with JMods, specifically Mod Matt K, and I've talked with other creators about this sort of idea of, just custom servers where you design the rules, you design the drop tables, you design the objectives behind it, and then you decide who's on the server. There's a lot of cool ideas, so obviously the hardcore main man mode that I've been kind of pushing ever since T-Papa brought it to my attention a couple months back. That would be cool if that's something you can just customize. I feel like still an official version of it just sounds so much cooler in my eyes, but it is something you can do. People that have been wanting old school, so just all the original stuff can get that. They can design it themselves and can create their own little server with it. The other cool thing is creating a world where, you can really tweak and balance, some of the drop tables and stuff, really create the game as you would imagine it being perfect. And on top of that, one of the cool things about these community servers is potentially no bots. Can you imagine a server, a big server that's really maintained by people that really care about that server and are banning cheaters and bots? Honestly, this is like a two-way street, though, because on top of, imagining a perfect situation where there's just no bots at all, because you can just clear them, imagine how difficult it would be to, actually moderate gambling that happens or cheating or, any sort of malicious activity that's happening in these community ran servers that goes undetected because there isn't a dedicated, anti-cheat team. So kind of goes both ways. It's a little bit concerning in some regard, but I think with the beta coming out, we should give it a test and see how we like it. There's also going to be costs associated with this, so this isn't just like free to do all the time. It's just going to be interesting. I could see content creators really loving this kind of stuff, especially like big YouTubers in the OSRS scene. They'll love this. But for the average player, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Project Zanaris. I'm really curious. Miscellaneous, and this is the thing. These are the things that I'm really excited for that are just going to be coming up that they didn't mention. Winter Todd improvements, run energy changes, addressing chromium ingots, missing POH Nexus teleports, Inquisitor's armor mace, God alignment prayers, Scorpia's unique, crystal shards, House on the Hill shortcut. That's the one I'm pretty sure it's like a rope down to like that small island where the seaweed is. PvP arena matchmaking, please fix that. I actually did a little bit of that to get my imbue scrolls. It was painful. Forestry and ancient scepter. So anyway, I said I'd make this a short ramble. Still ended up being 25 minutes, but I'll go into more depth on some of these, especially the Varlamore stuff. I think there's just so much to talk about, and just get us prepared for the release of Varlamore Part 2, September 25th. So again, drop a like if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe if you guys want to catch up or stay in touch with the next Rambles coming out very soon. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the Summer Summit, what your guys' overall opinions are on it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.